Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to say first, I had the privilege as the former ranking member of the Investigation and Oversight Subcommittee, and I can recall well the numerous questions about EPA scientific integrity and specifically the concerns about the scientific advisory processes. And while I understand the concerns and those expressed by the witnesses today, I think the aims of the draft bill that's in front of us, with it is not really clear to me that this bill and the sort of recommended changes espoused by Dr. Honeycutt and Dr. McClellan would actually create the kind of improvements to the process that the bipartisan group, the Keystone group, identified as recommended changes to directly address the concerns that you've just expressed. Dr. McClellan, I want to ask you, because you've served on advisory boards before, and so I'm curious, did you have the occasion in your service to read all of the comments that were submitted in addition to the testimony that you heard during your service?
As you've noted, I've served on numerous committees. Committees that we're specifically focusing on here in terms of public input are those that come under the Clean Air Scientific Advisory Committee, which I chaired. I can assure you that I read every public comment that came forward. I'm disappointed I cannot say that for many of my colleagues.
But did you have?
I also
let me just because I just have a limited amount of time. You served on those committees. You read all of the comments. Did you feel a need to respond to every single comment that was submitted to you, even though you considered it in your service?
There were many of those comments that deserved comment from the agency as it proceeded with its rulemaking process.
So, Dr.
It has
Grifo,
done that in some cases. In many cases, I think the agency is deficient in responding. I think the agency and the committee frequently dismisses public comments. To provide a 3-minute or a 5-minute comment period on very important matters is not sufficient. That's not engaging the public.
So I'm a little bit unclear. Dr. Grifo, I wonder if you can tell me, in the work that you did coming up with on these panels, coming up with recommendations, do you believe that it is feasible, given the level of work and the speed with which sometimes industry actually wants the stability and wants the agency to operate, that it would be possible with 17 full-time employees to respond to every single comment or even the significant ones? And is it your experience in reviewing these matters that there are times when comment is submitted and at a staff level it's reviewed and factors into the decision-making in the process, whether or not it's actually responded to or whether or not anyone was even listening during the hearings?
You know, in anticipation of today, I did a little bit of a survey calling several colleagues that serve regularly on panels, as you do, sir. And in fact, you know, they do look at them. I mean, they do read them. They do take them seriously. And, you know, if they don't appear in the final report, it's because the consensus of the committee was that it wasn't appropriate for them to be in that final report. So I think what's important here is that those public comments do come in and that there is an opportunity for the panel members to read them, but the written response could literally bring everything to a stop. Thousands and thousands and thousands of comments could be submitted on a weekly basis, and there is no way there would ever be time to do anything else.
Thank you. And then I want to ask you actually about the process a little bit, and this idea of conflicts of interest, because it is possible to have conflicts of interest that are fully disclosed or analyzed and still participate effectively in a process. Isn't that true?
We currently have a system of waivers where waivers are actually given out so that people with conflicts may continue to serve. And one of the great things that came out of Dr. Holdren's memo is this notion that all of those waivers should be made public.
Thank you. And then lastly, let me just just say for the record, I mean, there are plenty of times when a person has a conflict or some kind of interest, and they have an expertise that's necessary, and it becomes necessary to involve them in the process and make sure there's transparency in that disclosure and evaluation, and move forward with the kind of assessments we need. And with that, my time's expired.